How important is a presentation opening? Think of the first few sentences in the book, the first scene in the movie, the first meeting with your boss. That's how important the presentation opening is. It gives the first impression. Audience will decide whether to stay with us based on the first things they hear. There are 3 things an effective presentation opening can achieve. First, it catches the audience's attention. Second, it introduces the topic in an intriguing way. Third, it tells the audience why the topic matters to them. Now, how do we make the opening effective? Let me ask you a question. How do you usually begin your presentation? What are the first things that you say at the beginning of your talk? Sure, you greet your audience, you introduce yourself, you tell them what the topic is. So I believe many of you say something like, "Hello everyone, I'm Wenning Chen from National Central University, and today I'm going to talk about presentation opening." Well, if you start your presentation like this, I'm afraid it's not very impressive. Why not? What is wrong with this opening? Well, it's typical, conventional, and boring. Because most of people do this, it does not make you stand out from the crowd. It does not make your presentation more interesting than other people's. So why should people listen to you? Don't worry, help is at hand. In part 1 of this video, I'm going to show you 4 useful techniques that we can use to create an innovative opening and grab the audience's attention right from the start. With each technique, we are going to see an example, and I'll offer my explanation. Then in part 2, we are going to learn some practical ways to organize the opening. Now, let's get started with the 4 techniques to create a good opening. 1. Start your presentation with a question. Humans' natural response to a question is to want to answer it. So when they hear a question, they are all ears. The purpose of asking the question to start a presentation is to involve your audience and get them to think. The questions are used more for an effect. We do not actually expect the audience to answer the questions. We call such questions rhetorical questions. Now, let's look at a presentation that starts with questions.
Hello everyone. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of top polluters? Are they fossil fuel power plants, heavy transportation, or raw sewage? You might be surprised, but in fact, the clothing industry is the 4th largest polluter in the world. To turn each cotton into finished fabric consumes a lot of energy and water. To give you an idea of just how much that is, it's roughly the amount of energy a medium-sized business consumes for a year. And that amount of water is enough for one person to drink for 400 years. That's a lot of energy and water consumption, isn't it? Meanwhile, fashion industries produce around 56 billion liters of contaminated water a year. That's enough to fill 22,500 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Just imagine what it'd be like to allow untreated water to leave the factory. Isn't it time we start to make every effort to reduce pollution? My name is Ray from National Central University, majoring in chemistry. What I want to do today is to share my study with you to provide a method called Catalyst to reduce dye pollution. So, we're going to first learn what a catalyst is, then how this catalyst works, and finally, how we're going to use catalysts to reduce dye pollution.
The questions asked at the beginning successfully raise awareness of the problem this presentation wants to address. Clothing industry as one of the top polluters. The speaker then offers some astonishing facts to demonstrate how serious the problem is and why we should all pay attention. An outline follows to give a clear direction of what this talk will lead us. I like to point out another good technique used in this opening to make it effective, using numbers. Numbers are preferable in technical and academic talks since they give the information you are delivering some scientific support. One thing, however, we should take notice whenever we use numbers is, numbers do not mean much unless we put them into some perspectives. For example, in this opening, the speaker uses the phrase to give you an idea of just how much that is, to further explain how much a lot means in this context. Also, 56 billion liters of contaminated water does not mean much until the speaker gives an example of how much that really is. Effective, isn't it? This actually leads us to the second technique for a good opening. 2. Show statistics or an amazing fact. Let's look at another presentation.
In recent years, the environmental awareness amongst the public has risen. More and more people care about how much carbon dioxide is released into the atmosphere and how to prevent global warming. A research shows that the biggest reason for global warming is animal agriculture. About 18% of greenhouse gases are released from animal agriculture. Seriously, if you really want to save the earth, just become a vegetarian. I'm kidding. I know it would be difficult for people just like myself, so let me give you another suggestion to save the earth. You can see around 15% of greenhouse gas emission comes from transportation. We can easily deal with this problem just by buying an electric car. Hello everyone, my name is Ray, and today I am going to introduce this amazing and incredible automobile to you.
Statistics are numbers. A lot of times, numbers deliver better messages than words. Numbers in charts create a visual effect that helps the audience absorb the message and remember what is said to them. This opening also uses statistics to present a fact that might amaze the audience. Animal agriculture being the #1 contributor to greenhouse gas emission. The speaker takes advantage of this and uses a little humor to catch attention and raise awareness. A touch of humor relaxes your audience and makes them feel more comfortable with you as a speaker. A good story works just in the same way. 3. Tell a story.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Winnie, and today we are here to talk about an important concept in chemistry, chirality. Before we learn what chirality is, let me tell you a devastating story. In 1957, a pharmaceutical company in West Germany introduced a new drug, thalidomide, to the market. Thalidomide was sold in 46 countries. Doctors prescribed it as a sedative and sleeping drug for pregnant women. However, in 1960, the harmful side effects of thalidomide were reported. It was found to cause severe birth defects when taken by pregnant women. Thousands of babies were born with missing or abnormal arms, legs, hands, or feet. Many died at birth due to their defects. As a result, thalidomide was banned by many countries in 1961. You probably wonder how this could have happened. To understand it, we need to know about stereochemistry and chirality. Now, at first, we are going to learn what chirality is, then why chiral compounds have different activities, and finally, why chirality is important.
No matter how old we are, we can still be captivated with the well-told story. That is why using the story to start our presentation works effectively. Of course, the story should be relevant to your topic. In this opening, the speaker tells a real event that happened in the late 50s to bring out the connection between the problem of the drug, thalidomide, and the topic, chirality. The story successfully adds a soft touch to the serious science topic and also tells why the topic matters to general audience. When you decide to use stories in your presentation, keep in mind the 3 rules. Keep it short for impact. Practice for good effects. Rehearse in front of friends to get feedback. 4. Use an anecdote. A personal story works better than a story you learn from other people. If you can, make your stories personal. Your audience will love you for that.
My mom had a very late night. This morning, even 2 cups of coffee failed to perk her up, and she had to drive me to this presentation. We all know what it's like when exhausted parents have to shuttle us to place after place. On my way here, as she projected her frustration on me, I just wish the advances of technology have made self-driving vehicles a reality. We all heard about the testings done by Google, Audi, BMW, and Hyundai, but there are still significant challenges to making such vehicles commercially available. As a computer science enthusiast, I have been reading about the AI technology used to make the magic happen, or more precisely, why it still doesn't quite dazzle. We will look deeper into the persisting programming problems and how engineers hope to surmount these problems.
Even at a serious academic talk, we can always use our own experiences to poke a little fun at ourselves. Exposing our fears, annoying habits, or mistakes let the audience identify with us. We stop being the remote speaker and become one of them. This is how a personal story works. Remember to vary your voice when telling a story. Find where to pause, where to stretch the word, and where to go faster or slow down. Another important tip, show what you're saying. For example, if you are talking about being frustrated, reflect it in your face, in your body, and in your voice. Show it as well as tell it. Now that you have some good ideas on how to start a presentation, the next step is to organize them into a cogent opening. In the following section, we are going to learn 4 things that should be included in the opening and how to organize them. We are also going to learn some common expressions used by native English speakers. So, what are the things you need to do in an opening? 1. Introduce yourself with a warm welcome. As a speaker, you want your audience to like you, so you should like your audience too. Greet them with a sincere hello, and then tell them your name, your job title, or your expertise, which suggests why they should trust you on the topic you are going to address. Here are some expressions you can use. Good morning, everyone. I'm thrilled to see you all today. My name is a product manager from eTech, who is in charge of the project we will be looking into today. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming. I believe most of you know me well, but for those who don't, I am the CEO of. Hello, everyone. On behalf of my research team, I want to thank you all for coming today. I am a PhD student in mechanical engineering with specialization in bionic robots. 2. Capture the audience's attention. This is the time we use the 4 techniques introduced to you earlier in this video. Let's have a quick review. Use questions, statistics, offer amazing facts, tell stories. Or you can combine all the techniques to create an opening. Let's look at some expressions we use to present them. How many of you know the answer to this question? What comes to your mind when you think of? Let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard? You might be surprised, but 80% of the richest people in the world. Did you know that 76% of air pollution comes from? Before I start, let me tell you a story. 10 years ago, when I started my own business. Imagine our life a decade later from today when robots take over most jobs. What could be your number one concern? According to the latest survey on this matter, over 50% of people say 3. State the purpose of your presentation. It is important to tell your audience why you are giving this presentation and what you hope they will take from you. It tells the audience the reasons to listen to your talk. Make the purpose of the talk clear at the opening by using the following expressions. What I want to do today is, the purpose of the talk is, this morning we will be discussing, today I want to share with you, today we are going to learn, and why it is important. By the end of my talk today, you will have better understanding of. I hope my presentation today will help to change popular misconceptions about. 4. Give a quick outline of your talk. An outline states the key points and shows the audience a clear direction of where the presentation is heading. It helps the audience to follow our presentation because they know what they can expect. When giving outlines, avoid using a mechanical 1, 2, 3 approach. Use the following expressions instead. I've divided my talk into 3 parts. First, we are going to learn, then I'll show you, and finally, we will discuss. Today, I'll be covering 2 points. We will first look into, and then try to find. Okay, those are the 4 things that should be included in an opening. One thing we need to know is, they do not necessarily follow the same order as they were just presented. For example, you can start with self-introduction or choose to share a personal story first. There's no set rule on how to mix and match these techniques. This will give variety to your opening and makes it engaging. Now you can actually go back to look at our model presentations earlier in this video and find all the useful expressions that you have just learned. The opening is always a significant challenge. There's so much pressure to do it right. There's one way to conquer our nerves and help us deliver a smooth, error-free presentation opening. Memorize the whole thing. When we are 100% sure of what to say and know every word, every sentence by heart, we do a good job and gain confidence. This confidence will carry us throughout the rest of the presentation. As they say, a good beginning is halfway to success. Give your talk an innovative opening that impresses the audience. And remember, a good presenter is a good storyteller. Great storytelling is active rather than passive. Show your enthusiasm and passion when you deliver the most important message of your latest study and research. Good luck on your next presentation.